Hello. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode where we get to talk to Amy Wicks about one of my favorite topics, growing your biz without burning your family out. I love when my clients want to talk about this. This is one of my favorite topics, as you can imagine. I'm always continuing to learn. I don't want to go it alone, especially because I do work alone a lot of the time. So having friends like Amy who meet with me, who pray with me, who Voxer with me, it is such a joy. You guys have heard us talking on podcasts before together, and Amy is the real deal, guys. I am so happy that we get to share this time with her together today and rev you up for your week because I know that if you have a business of any side grind or your main business, also a family perhaps, that you are trying to balance a lot. Or maybe this is something you want for your future. But either way, I know a ton of people who are doing this in a very fake way, who are totally burned out, not close or companionable. And yet I know people like Amy who are like, you know what? I'm going to readjust. I'm going to tweak. My family means everything to me. And yet I'm also putting big dreams out there and watching them happen and watching them take forth and take shape. And if you know Amy at all, you know she's had conferences with thousands of people. She's done retreats and she really has had a legacy with podcasting now. So I love that she has been doing this in such a saturated, rich way to nourish her community, including me, for so long. And now we get to be part of learning some of the rhythms that she's established and humbly continues to establish. So get ready for that. And also, she's going to talk about the upcoming Wholehearted Equip and Activate conference because she has leaders on her conference speaking team who have gifts that she doesn't even necessarily have or that I don't have that she's learning from. And it's a multicultural, male, female group of people of all different ages where everybody is sharing their greatest, deepest secrets for how they are doing their best business work. And many of them also about that balance, Enneagram. We have finances talked about. We have how do you run an email funnel? It is the works. So Amy will talk about that and you guys can just learn and grow with us today. And I hope you just make sure you're looking for that one tip from today. And if you are somebody who's hoping to start a business or already starting one, then make sure you really also allow yourself to consider if the conference would be the right fit for you because community is awesome. So I'm excited for it. And I'm just really happy you're here in this combo with us too. Check out everything in the show notes and let's talk to Amy. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today on the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. We're so happy to have you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be back. I just love the exchange of our conversations, whether it's my podcast or your podcast. It's always so good.
It is. It is so rare and special to have double seven energy. So I hope everyone feels refreshed today. That's our plan, right?
Yes, we won't get too goofy because we're not talking about movies, so we'll keep it reined in, I promise.
Exactly. Even though we did have so much fun talking about while you were sleeping, you got that in like so much into me. Now it's my favorite Christmas movie for like rom-com.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That makes me thrilled.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, we are so grateful to get to talk about work life balance. That is something you are extraordinary at. And guys, I see
Mm.
Amy on the field and off the field. We meet regularly for just powwows, the two of us, for chats, for prayer. And she is the real deal. So, Amy, today
Aw.
we just are so grateful. But I wanted to really just get your secrets first and foremost
Sure.
and tell us how you maintain this kindness and warmth and also do so
Mhm.
much. I see that peace, I see that joy run through you, and we'll get specific as we go on. But what's something you would just say to people right away as to how you maintain that countenance?
The top secret, and it's not so secret, but the biggest one, the thing that I cannot live without is 3 minutes of silence every morning.
Mm.
Now, I'll give you a little bit more specifics and I can expand on some of this later. But if I don't get anything else by meaning like I don't get journal time or Bible study or prayer, if I can get my cup of coffee and sit in my living room without anyone else awake yet, and it's just me and a blanket and the dog. But I sometimes set a timer. I sometimes just sit there. I sit in stillness, in
Mm.
silence, and solitude, and I just breathe deeply. And I actually let my mind wander. I don't think it's about emptying my mind. I do picture myself crawling up on God's lap,
Mm.
just being comfortable and safe and being loved,
Oh,
and just try to keep grounding myself in that. Even if my mind goes haywire, I
mm,
still like, I let it go.
mm,
But then I also am like, but remember where I am. I'm in the palm of his hand, or I'm in his lap. I'm safe.
mm,
And so those 3 minutes,
mm.
if like again, if nothing else, that is what grounds me. And I try to go back to it a couple times a day, to be honest, because life happens and there is a lot to juggle. But
Mm.
that is key for sure.
Wow, that's interesting, and I did not know that about you, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that
Oh, yeah.
vulnerability and how safety is such a big part of that.
Hmm.
Oh, and you also invited us we can do that again and again through the day. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be just once if we get dysregulated at midday.
Yep. And I don't believe, this is where it's like if someone else has a different faith than I do,
Mhm.
there's no script of what that silence, but I really believe there's even scientific proof about what that silence can do for our mind and body
Mm.
connection that is really invaluable.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned that silence and solitude and stillness are just key. And we've talked
Hmm.
about how different types can do different things. And thank you for just inviting us into all three of the practices, no matter what our type. As we're
Yes.
busy leaders here, there's a lot of people who are juggling a lot here. A lot of our listeners are not just one thing, they're not just a parent or just a leader, but they may be a community member giving a lot or a spouse. And there are so many hats people are wearing, so some of our listeners know you and your pairing and your big family, but not everybody. And I too would like to hear all about how you got started on your coaching and leadership journey, just so we can relate to your beginnings and how far you've come.
Yes, I was just talking this story out to someone the other day, and it was just kind of funny timing in
Yeah.
light of all the things that are happening right now in my life. But it was about 8 years ago, and I had 3 young kids at the time. I was homeschooling part time. I was doing Norwex, which is a home party business, and
Hmm.
it had been fun, and it was actually going pretty well. I felt like I was rediscovering myself a little bit again.
Hmm.
Because it had been a long hiatus. I had grown up in ministry, been in ministry for years in the workplace, even done real estate for quite a while,
Hmm.
but I was just doing the mom thing.
Yeah.
So I hit kind of a wall where I was loving the Norwex and the rhythm of homeschooling and getting to be with my kids, but I had this desire to go back to some of the discipleship roots and also my love for writing
Mm-hmm.
and speaking and teaching, not only in like big groups, but with more one-on-one even.
Hmm.
So there was this opportunity to start dipping my toes in the water, if you will, and like checking it out. And what caught my attention was there was a conference called Business Boutique. And I just knew my name was on one of those seats and I had to go to this event.
Yeah.
So that was a pivotal moment. And I share all of that for a reason for what we're going to also be talking about in a little bit. But that was transformative where I felt a true like mantle of calling fall on my shoulders for what it is that I'm doing right now with Simply Wholehearted. This mission of working with women. It's been moms, but it's been multi-passionate entrepreneurs, it's been business leaders and organizations. It's ended
Mhm.
up going so many different directions, but
Yeah.
ultimately me utilizing the information I know and creating content to support people to take their next right step, whether it's in a relationship, in their faith, or even within their business and workplace. And so that's been such a joy. And I couldn't have told you that this was coming, but do you know what's wild, Krista?
Mm.
Is I have that workbook, that notebook from the conference that
Wow.
was in 2000, was it 15, 16?
Wow.
And I was reading through it recently, and some of those things have come to pass that I was just writing as dreams and ideas, things that I could have had no grid for.
Mm.
So it's pretty special and kind of a marked moment, if you will.
Oh my goodness, it is. I mean, at this point to date, as our listeners know, you've done retreats, you've had thousands of people at your own conferences, you've had
Yes.
hundreds of podcasts, you've been doing so much for so long, so well.
Aw,
It's so amazing just to hear you say it all started with a calling and a
mhm.
sense of purpose. And for
Yeah.
those that have felt that too, I think that's very comforting. And yet we also know there's those who say, gosh, what if I do want to do something different? Because being this one piece of my life isn't enough for me. I just know there's something else. How do you help people to do that? And I guess I want to add too, jumping ahead a little bit here, but do you feel
Yeah,
that that is going to be part of what people can learn at the Equip and Activate conference?
I do. I I honestly, I think part of this process and what I might even do more one-on-one is the wrestling through what if this is all? Like what if where we are at in life
Yeah.
is it? Can it
Yeah.
be good enough? Can this ordinary be extraordinary because we make it meaningful? We are
Mm.
purposed, we are intentional. And so I think
Mm.
I wrestled through that a lot being a seven. I
Yeah.
mean, I can think about it for
Mhm.
all types too, how they would
Oh my
approach a
gosh.
season where they're questioning, am I doing enough? Is this purposeful enough?
Yeah.
Is there more to life than this? And I think the invitation is to be very present
Yeah.
and be very purposeful with what is available to us right now and
Mm.
the relationships that we're to invest in and
Yeah.
the community that we can be a part of and then what we can do in our spirit mind and body
Yeah.
to excel and to love it and to nurture it and take care of it. And I think in those things,
Mm.
as we do, I think as we're faithful with the small things,
Mhm.
there is the expansion that can happen in all of those arenas as we get clear and get good with where we are at right now. So I think that's really part of it. And I do, Krista, so many women are
Yeah.
coming in that place of like, I think there's something more here, right? And it doesn't even have to be grandiose ideas. Like they
Mhm,
don't want to
mhm.
be a New York Times bestseller or Fortune
Yeah,
500
yeah,
business owner or leader.
yeah.
Nothing like that. It's just feeling that sense of something more
Mm,
and I think we are invited to something more. And therein lies the invitation to be more intentional, to be very purposed, to be seeking after that.
mm, mhm,
I think it's a great question. And I think most of us ask it. And if we aren't,
mhm.
maybe we could be.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you're saying we don't wanna get into that comparison trap that you talk about that you had landed in long ago.
Yeah.
But that we also allow for what we're doing now to be special and sacred, which we got to hear from Charlie Peacock and
Mhm.
Andy Ashworth recently. So you're really
Yes.
allowing us to be present where we are, but you're saying it's not wrong to want more.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you have also been really gifted with is sharing like, hey, I have done the mom thing, the wife thing
Yeah.
well. And because of the balance that you've got in your life, you have been able to add things in. One of the steps you told us about was just the 3-minute pause and doing
Mhm.
that as often as you want. And now you're saying also just how you had this sense of purpose and calling. And for those who don't, they can learn more about that through the conference. Um,
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you and your family and balancing, because we're also curious about that.
Mhm.
Maybe you can tell us some of the struggles you encountered along the way, because really what I think is beautiful about our conversation today is, you know, there's been some recent threads on Instagram that have been so good, and they've been
Mm.
I was reading them out loud the other day. I was just so happy with them because they were like, "What would you if you're in your 30s or 40s, what would you tell yourself 10 or 20 years ago?" And there was just
Oh, so
gems.
good.
So, I guess that would be just our greatest joy here would be for you to vulnerably share a bit about, like, something you've learned along the way that you wish you would have known all those years
Mm.
ago.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. We don't have enough time for that list,
Yeah.
right? There's so many things, and for
Yeah.
those who are
Yeah.
more assertive personality types, the three,
Yeah.
7, and 8 specifically, right?
Yeah.
We're really forward big thinkers. And
Yeah.
so in that vein of thinking, we can grow impatient
Mm,
with the process and
yeah.
impatient with our people. And
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
that to me is a key in understanding how to pace yourself a
Yeah.
little bit better in this
Yeah.
process because we don't want to leave anybody behind. And I think we
Mm.
can quickly, in pursuit of a desire to feel purposeful or to
Yeah.
go after these callings and dreams and ambitions. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, if we look closely, we see it happen all the time, and it's a tragedy.
Mhm.
We were never designed to put these opportunities above the most sacred call to and of
Mhm.
which is relationship, which is
Yeah.
people
Oh
and
my
caring for each other's soul. Like no
God.
matter what position you find, you have souls that you are to not just tend to your own, but to tend to others. And so we
Mhm.
have to be cognizant of again, the pace that we're moving at. And so I feel like this is one of those moments it would be easy to speak to people who are just like me, but I want to take a moment and
Mm,
speak to the different ways maybe that we would approach this and just have some food
yeah,
for thought. So
love
I'm
that.
gonna I'm gonna go off a little tangent here. And the
Yeah.
reason why I'm gonna share it is that it's something that we're gonna dive into deeper on
Yeah.
the third day of the conference, because we're gonna do
Mhm.
some building blocks, because it's about we have to put systems in place. We
Mhm.
have to strategically reach our people, but then we also have to build in additional opportunities so that way we can scale, right? So we can serve more people and grow. We
Mhm.
can grow our income. This is very important. But one of
Mhm.
those elements is to understand our communication better, not just our communication, but how we can work together better. Because in
Mm.
that process, this working better together and understanding others' communication, it serves us at home with our
Mhm.
spouse if we're married, right? With our
Mhm.
children, if we are blessed to have children, with our
Mhm.
friends, with
Mhm.
our workplace, with our teammates, and with
Mhm.
ourselves too.
Yeah.
So, this is a key ingredient that I think it's really, really valuable for everyone to learn. So, I had mentioned that I was an assertive forward thinker, and that's
Mhm.
the 3, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just going to do a quick overview here, Krista. Is that all right with you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. We've been going over stances on our deep dive pods, and I love how you
Perfect.
were vulnerable and you said, "Hey, this is mine with this, but you can teach us about others too, so please."
Yeah, I think it's important. Now, listen, I'm going to say big ideas, but
Mhm.
want to invite you do the deep dive in Krista's special episodes here so that way you can learn better about all of them and learn
Oh.
more about yours. But then you can take some of these ideas and apply. Or again, if you join us at the conference, we'll have
Mhm.
slides, we'll go through it slowly
Mm.
so you can go through the whole process and figure out what is yours.
I love that.
But we have the assertive, the 3, 7, and 8, and they are forward thinkers. And the big word that is what we like to assign with the assertive, the action is toward. They go toward people and engage people in communication. This can be in
Mhm.
conflict, but this can just be in general.
Yeah.
Now, quick caveat, you and I both know, Krista, we don't always go toward people.
Right.
It
Right.
looks different. We do all of the communication styles. So, what I invite people to is think about what they most naturally and most often do. But the
Yeah.
assertive, go toward.
Mhm.
The dutiful types are the 1, 2, 6. They
Mm.
come alongside. They
Mm.
tend to like partner up and buddy up. Now,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean they are just morphing into what someone else wants, but they want to be available and they want
Yeah. Mhm.
to support others,
Yeah.
right? Whatever the
Yeah.
communication, the project, the
Mhm.
conflict. And then we have the third category, which is the withdrawn, and that's the 4, 5, and 9. And the word for them is away. They are
Mm.
tending to withhold or even physically go away from a situation or take their thoughts and opinions away from the situation. So
Mm.
we have the three. We have toward, which is assertive.
Yeah.
We have the dutiful, which is alongside, and then
Mhm.
we have the withdrawn, which is away.
Mm. Mhm.
So when we start thinking about those are three different actions, right?
Yeah.
And we have this fun thing where we utilize an open V or like a positive less than sign, right? More than less than sign.
Yeah.
And when we do this presentation, usually with a larger group of people, we have everyone hold up their fingers like peace signs.
Yeah.
And we have everyone work together where we bend our hands. Krista can see me now, where we
I
like
love
come
it.
together and we form this triangle where it's all blending and working together.
Mm.
So, the reason why I
Love
share
that.
these three is that this has been instrumental in making sure I still tend to the souls of those who are in my home, that I care for their needs, that in my assertiveness, I'm not running toward my goal and
Mm.
leaving everyone behind, or in
Yeah.
my desire to get things done or to resolve conflict, even. I am not pushing through in order to get progress. So this is really really key and really instrumental. The unique thing in our home is that I'm married to a withdrawn type. I'm married to a
Yes.
9.
Yes.
And so those are totally opposite, right? So I we have the away and we have the toward. And so it can look like me chasing him all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
It can look
Mhm.
like me feeling so frustrated. How can he roll over and go to sleep? And I need resolution and I
Yeah.
want I want like, "Hey, will you talk to me?"
Yeah.
And as I've understood this communication pattern, it's helped me grow
Mm.
to be more patient with his process,
I love it.
to give it a little bit of time. And usually I put a deadline on it, like, hey,
Yeah.
that's fine. We'll let it rest, but could we
Yeah.
talk about this in a couple days again so we can
Yeah.
resolve it? Right. So I
That's
still have
good.
my needs, right? Like
Yep. I
we're
love
not
that.
just dismissing what I
Uh-huh.
need here. Um, but to be able to let go of my urgency for progress so he can come to the resolution that he needs to.
Mm.
But then I invite him, right? Where he would want to go away, I'm inviting him
I
to
love that.
move towards as well. So we come together and we work better together.
I love
So,
that you invite, you don't push.
yes, well, do I do it perfectly? I
Different
try real
thing,
hard.
different approaches.
Exactly, exactly. But yes, to your point, like it's an invitation.
Mm.
And sometimes we have to be more assertive than maybe we're comfortable with in order to continue to invite, right? Like I get uncomfortable with keep having to continue to have to extend the invitation.
Mm.
And so I've been learning to continue to extend the invitation until we get the result that we need to. So I don't dismiss myself in the process.
Mm.
The other piece here is that it's as you follow along, so that's kind of a pattern, right? We have
Mhm.
our assertive and withdrawn. Well, what happens if you have another assertive person in your house? Because I have three. I have
Mm.
three kids that are all assertive.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. That's a good word for it. And so
I only have one and it's me, so I can only
yes,
imagine.
right? And so we could be butting heads
Mm.
all day long,
Yeah.
which we used to.
Yeah.
But as I've learned to know that I need to nurture their souls and be
Mm.
more patient, right? I
Yeah.
can coach them because I'm the parent to also be more patient, to slow down, to let other people speak and share their opinion, and
Mm.
to realize that there's a compromise in coming together so we can work better together. So as I'm making these symbols, and you would see at the
Mhm.
conference, like we're taking very specific movements in our patterns to work better together. So
Mm.
this breaks down for each pattern. There's 6 different pattern types that we go through of the different combinations because you could
Mhm.
have 2 withdrawns and 2
Mhm.
dutiful's, right? You can have
Yeah.
the blend of all of these different
Yeah.
combinations.
Mm.
And every single communication style requires a step of intentionality,
Mm.
whether it's to go toward when we want to come away,
Mhm.
to speak up when we want to just be there and blend, right? And to
Yeah.
not share opinion or be fearful about doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
instead of doing what it is that we actually know to be good for us,
Yeah.
and not worrying about what everyone else thinks. So every single communication pattern takes that growth and the intentionality to be aware of. So that's it's those things I think taking not just taking what I'm learned and applying it to my family, but really prioritizing how am I gonna be a student of them? Am I
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
aware of how I'm
Mm.
impacting them and can especially when it comes to my kids, how can I
Yeah.
coach them into this place where we can communicate and work better together and
Yeah.
ultimately support each other's dreams in the process?
Oh.
Because even in that, right? Like was a 9, like I could run over my husband's dream and I could be
Mm.
bulldozing and getting things done, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Lord has put us together to complement each other's passions and desires and
Mm.
dreams. But
Yeah.
we got to continue to ask and invest in making sure we're supporting one another in the unique ways that we need to.
Mm, you said that so well, that you're not leaving people behind when you practice this, that your husband and you complement each other. And it also sounds like this has been a process for you to learn that, and that you wish
Yeah.
you would have had these steps earlier in these
Oh my
balancing
goodness. Yes.
equations that we get with our Enneagram work.
Oh my goodness. I was
Oh.
doing a presentation the other day and I said it took me a good 15 years of
Mm.
arguing poorly to finally, to
Oh,
utilize this information in a way
yeah.
that was really
Yeah.
life-changing and beneficial and
Yeah.
has been a game changer. And I'm
Mm.
so grateful.
Oh, me too. And thank you for sharing it because as I said, we can see it, you exude it. but it's
Mhm.
important that people don't try to run ahead with their businesses and exhaust themselves and burn
Yeah.
themselves out. And I love how you're like, I've had this call on my life to do this, but I've also had to acknowledge the people alongside me. So
Mm.
then I wanted to ask you from that point,
Yeah.
what is something you recommend for others who are trying to figure this out, to balance, to become equipped, to just get started with it? If they're like, okay, thank you for the encouragement that it can be done. What's something you recommend for us to now do? And this might even lend itself into some conference topics.
Yeah. Again, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into this topic. The first day, we're going to get clear on the different decision making styles and communication styles and how those work together and how
Okay.
those apply uniquely for each type. And I think
Okay.
that's really helpful. We have to start with ourselves and understanding our starting point so it
Hmm.
doesn't become our stuck point. And
Hmm.
then we can go into this other deep dive of how do we take the understanding about us and
Hmm.
maybe the things we understand about other people or we can observe when we work with
Hmm.
other people
Hmm.
and learn how to work together. So that's a huge key. Uh, I feel like the best teams are self-aware teams, right? The
Hmm.
best marriages have self-aware individuals. There's
Hmm.
all of those. That's kind of where we begin.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Another huge key is constantly doing an audit of your life, right?
Yeah.
Where am I? And I believe we have to do this usually every quarter as every
Hmm.
season
Yeah.
changes because typically there's a sports change or a school change or
Yeah.
activities change. So
Yeah.
I love the time audit, and
Mm.
something that I've taught for years has just been really like a time blocking concept. And
Mhm.
I've talked about owning your time instead of it owning you. That's really key. But especially the last year and a half, my business coach, Sean Blanc, he runs a group called Focus Like a Boss. Love it. He is
Mhm.
doing two different presentations
Yeah, I was
because,
gonna say he's speaking.
yes, he is. And he
Um,
has taught me new levels of this concept that have revolutionized really my role as a
mm,
business owner and as a manager of other people. So
mhm,
that has been an awesome help, and he's actually sharing all of those gems. Just he's breaking it down really detailed. There's things to work through, really inviting us to consider what could margin look like in our life and
mm,
what does it look like to get more margin, which S7s really love because
mhm.
it means
Yeah.
freedom.
Yes, we do. We need that too, or we get overly frantic, not just
Yes.
fun. So I love that you've had him in your corner. That's a great tip right there for everybody is you've had a fantastic coach and you're bringing
Yes.
him right alongside everybody else too, which is so generous because you have an array of speakers and yeah, tell us more. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I really did this time, Krista, because this is my third event, my third annual. Though we
Mhm.
had to skip a year. We did retreats last year. We couldn't do the big online thing. I had to choose. But the
Yeah.
retreats were amazing. Hopefully this
Oh.
year we can do both. But this year I got really picky. I wanted to
Mhm.
combine two things. I did an Equip and Activate retreat in Texas last year in January. It was phenomenal. It ended up being we could only house 10 women and it was packed. We packed us in because we had a couple little extra people and a dog with us.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we it was 10 women who were either had been certified as a coach trying to grow their coaching business or who
Yeah.
were interested in becoming a coach and who just wanted to know the business ins and outs, but the idea of sustainable rhythms was really intriguing to everybody.
Mm.
So we came together and it was beautiful and it was wonderful. So I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to invite the people that I personally learned from.
Mm.
So every speaker at this conference are people that I like, they're actual friends and I have learned from them. And so, or I want to even learn more from them. So it was
Mhm.
kind of my like, hey, I want to learn more about this. Will you teach about this so I can learn too? So it's I wanted to also just it's a no fluff
Mm.
actual training practical type of thing instead
Mm.
of it's not another free webinar
Yeah.
where you kind of get just enough and then you have to sign up for this huge program. I really
Mhm.
wanted people, no matter where they were at in their business journey, whether they've been a business owner for a while, they're thinking about maybe becoming a coach
Mm.
or online business, maybe even an author and a writer. And
Mhm,
so just kind of help them put some building blocks in place that would help them with their next right step. And
mm,
from there, if they learn from someone and they go, oh, now I know I need this in my business,
mm,
or this is the type of person I need to teach me how to build the business that I want,
mhm,
I can work with them. But you're going to get enough from them to be able to put it into your business now and see growth, which
mhm,
I just am so excited for everyone. I
mhm.
really have created what I wish I had had.
Mm,
And again, business fatigue was awesome,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
This is me kind of
Deeper.
giving a nod to that and then
Mhm,
adding a little bit more to it because, well,
mm.
I'm a
Mhm.
7.
Yeah, and a lot more. I think you're adding to it when I'm so excited for one to see the other speakers because I think that you got a lot and that was a great liftoff for you back in the day. But a lot
Yeah.
of our listeners now have had some of that liftoff already. And even for those who haven't, that's great that they can find some of that at your conference. But I also love you saying, like, sometimes you just get brought into a gimmick like, I'm going to have all these people share, and each one is just going to give like 1 minute of a real digestible content
Yes.
instead of really valuable information. And you had everyone share detailed, valuable information. I know because I'm one of the speakers, and you
Mhm.
were really detailed with what you wanted and how you wanted to serve your people. And you have a lot of talks that I want to go to, like building a YouTube page. We have a very small YouTube page that we started, but really fun is going to be learning how to get deeper in that. You have a Pinterest track, you have a track on how to work with your finances. You have, as you mentioned, an Enneagram track. I love it. You have how to do sales funnels. So many different projects that you're bringing together. And I just want to remind everybody, Amy is a 7, but as you can hear with her 7-9 pairing, she's very peaceful. So she's given me some advice that I've really enjoyed. And it's not from a frenetic paced place, it's from a place of peace and wisdom. So I'm very excited for you.
Oh, I know you're gonna love learning from LaShonda.
Oh.
She like go watch her YouTube. She has so many bootstrapping, just plain and can do
Mm.
ideas. She's killing it out there
Ah,
in the business world. She's just been fun to. I don't even remember how I met her, kind of found her stuff, but I've just
yeah.
seen her over the last couple of years really grow and expand and
Mm.
grow even in her confidence and what
Yeah.
she's speaking to and how she's doing business. But
Mm.
yeah, I think that'll be you bring up a great point because I I know that each of the speakers there, we did a green room event yesterday, and we're going to do one again here just 2 days before the event, but where the women were excited to get to talk to each other and meet each
Mm.
other because everyone had something to offer the other speakers. So it
It's so
really
cool.
it was just a great point of like these women are doing amazing things in business and we have still so much to learn and
Mm.
I purposely brought people in who I'm like, "Oh, I bet they'd love to learn from each other," because that's always a fun part of the conference,
I
right?
oh, yes, she is so sweet, you guys. She's literally, like, taking us to virtual coffee where we get Starbucks card. We are getting spoiled. I am
Yes.
getting my oat milk, chai tea, iced latte. It's so much fun, and I love and you have men and women, it's multicultural, all
Mhm.
ages. It is such a cool, diverse space to really dig in together, and like you said, everybody has something to teach. So I love that, we're not just holding that for ourselves, like, "Okay, let's have a private conference," and like you said, there's value in that, but I love that you're opening it up because I don't know about you, Amy, but my best times with Enneagram and marriage are not just with me here alone podcasting, they're when I'm interfacing with others. So thank you for
Absolutely.
inviting a community too.
Oh yeah, I think that's what's gonna be fun is that we're doing a lot of these in real time where we're sending out the Zoom link to the attendees. They can
Mhm,
hop on, they can see the presentation. We have time for Q&A for those who can stay and watch that. And
mhm.
then those, all of these sessions, all the trainings will be available for people for a quote unquote lifetime, right?
Oh,
Because it'll be there to go back and replay and watch at your leisure because some
yeah,
of us are too busy to pause our busy
yeah.
calendars to take it
Mhm.
all in at once.
Yes.
But, if you can hop on live, that'll be so much fun. I think it'll be just great to connect with people and see who else is in this space and maybe Instagram some names that you come across and like, oh, I want to. They look fun. They look
Yeah.
interesting, or they had a great question. I want those kind
Mhm.
of situations are awesome, just as if we were getting to sit in a room together and learning from people on the stage.
Yes. That is such a cool idea that we can continue to learn from everybody as we do that. And so, would you say that this is for anybody? Can we clarify just as we wrap up who this conference you feel like it's most for when you were thinking of, oh my gosh, it's for this person? Is it where you were 10 years back? And like you said, there's even more people involved, but like, is it somebody who's starting a business, in a business? Tell us about what your hopes are and who this is really for.
Yeah, I really do think it's the current or aspiring, right? The emerging
Mhm.
coach or entrepreneur,
Mhm.
specifically those who are in the online space and are looking for resources and tools to help them do this from a place of sustainability, but also have growth, right? Where we can
Yeah.
keep our faith and our family intact and see
Mhm.
revenue growth in our business. Those are the things that I try to live by. Those are the things that I espouse and I teach
Mhm.
others.
Mhm.
And everyone who's part of this event, that is really important for them as well. So think
Mhm.
that you don't have to have something yet to be able to benefit from this. But I
Yeah.
think also if you're, because if you're just thinking about coaching, man, oh my gosh,
Oh my
if you have
gosh.
this
Yeah.
before a coaching certification,
Yes.
holla, it's going to help put everything into
Yeah.
place for you. And then on the flip side, if you're a few years in and you need a boost, you need some encouragement, you need some structure, you need an idea to take your business to the next step because you feel like you're spinning your wheels a little bit.
Yeah.
This is going to help you get centered again, get some
Mhm.
strategy in place, get a little bit clear. And from there, you can even break down even more. Okay, what is my next right step? I'm going to do one
Yeah.
new thing, maybe a month,
Yeah.
and then kind of get the income and the revenue growing from there.
Oh my gosh, that's gold. And you really remind me of the Proverbs 31 woman when you talk about how your hope is to be able to balance well. And I see that in your life, Amy. I know that there are people who are just now very excited and thankful for this clarification. We've been talking at a very minimal level about it. So it was such an honor to have you today. Can you tell us where people can sign up? Of course, I'm putting a link in the show notes also.
Yes, I was gonna say, I know Krista's gonna put her special link in the show notes. You absolutely should check it out through there or out even on her website or Instagram. But simplywholehearted.com is where all the fun is gonna be happening. You'll get your conference library, there'll be workbook, there's bonuses, there's some other fun things that we're doing to sprinkle in the goodness along the way, just to make it an event to remember and really
Oh.
special.
Oh my gosh, that makes me happy. I love little sprinkles. Like I said, I
Right?
was just like, "Oh my gosh, she's treating us to Starbucks." Like, you're so cute how you think of joy too, and that's something
Mm,
that I also love about you is you're a 7 and you have a lot of the one-to-one traits, so you're really good with relationships. So I'm very
mm,
thankful and excited. Thank you for letting us know where we can sign up. And yes, in the show notes, and we have your website in the show notes too. So thank you, Amy, so
perfect.
much.
Oh, thank you, Krista. I love this. And it's like, it's so hard because you and I have so much we want to talk about. So I'm pretty proud of us. We
Me
kept
too.
it short and to the point, just enough to, take some action and see for yourself. How about
Yeah,
that communication? What's my communication? What are the
yeah,
people in my house? How can
yeah.
I grow in that way?
Yes, me too. I'm so glad that people have a sense for like, yes, this is so worth their time, and this was worth my time. So thank you, Amy. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Krista. It was a joy.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for that special conversation with Amy. As I got off the call, I was really seriously like, yes, Proverbs 31 woman, Deborah, so many strong women that I think of when I think of Amy because she is just a firecracker and yet full of joy and peace. And so I just love learning with her, from her. And for me, one of the greatest parts about podcasts and doing work at conferences online is that we're not alone. And I just want to emphasize that if you're a business leader and you're trying to do everything alone, please join us. It's going to be really fabulous. And just being part of it and following the threads will bring you some energy, which I know we appreciate those of us who run hard and do a lot. So I hope this is life giving to you. I know it will be. It's in the show notes. I hope today's tips were life giving. Take one of them with you from today. And thank you so much for being here with us. We're so proud of you for literally working so hard every day to shape this world in a better, more beautiful way, as well as resting in the grace that you're already enough to. Okay, bye.